Welcome back, students. Let us start the discussion on government by a cartoon which is given in your NCRT, a very meaningful one. Dear students, here, is there anything which you want to say after seeing this cartoon? What is your opinion or what is the meaning? Please share your meaning. See the cartoon here? Not bad. One of the taps in the nearby village must be getting water. What are the implications which you draw here? Please do share what you feel. See the cartoon here and see everything. The interpretation is left to you. Not bad. One of the taps in the nearby village must be getting water.
I think there must be a drought or something in the whole village or uh, villages which was nearby. But getting at least one village, they are thinking that it's not bad. Even in the drought, we are getting like water at least in one of the nearby villages or like that. We want to think in a positive way.
Good. Any other interpretation? I expect at least few should say what they feel. See, this is our Pawan Kalyan's interpretation. What is your interpretation? Anyone? Okay, right. So here in this, the main thing is, say for example, when you see the cartoons, what you see is the cartoons always appreciative of any individual, or you see cartoons ridiculing the things. According to the very well-known cartoonist R.K. Lakshman, the cartoonist's business in a democracy is to exercise his right to criticize. So, a very important, meaningful, an individual in a democracy has the right to criticize, ridicule, find fault in the political leaders through the cartoons. Here, very important, my dear students, whenever you are writing an answer, you have to think like, if I write these kind of answers, will I be selected? Or to say, if you are in the selection process, can you expect a person whom you want to select to write this kind of answers? Mean to say that you may find, according to you, you may find some faults in the constitution. Say, for example, yesterday we somehow had a little like stretched discussion on casteism. You may feel that the reasons may be different. Maybe you are the person who are not getting the reservation. Maybe you are getting some other kind. Say for example, you are in the like gang of Chandrababu Naidu or Jagan. You are getting all the contracts, all the things. You're not talking about those things. You may be finding faults here, but what I say is, you can, to a certain extent, criticize the policies of the legislature and executive, not the constitution. You can say like for and negative, like plus and negative, because this is the exam to select a civil servant. This is the exam not to test only the attitude required for a civil servant. Don't think that whenever, say for example, in ethics paper, you are a strict officer. You are an officer. Let me take the pen for you. So you are an officer, and higher official offers bribe to you, or an outsider or a contractor offers bribe to you, many times, like 50% of the questions in UPSC ethics paper and even in your interview will be like this. What are the options available? Here, thinking that if I write 10 options, I'll get more marks is not the correct way. Here, by asking you the examples or asking you the options, UPSC is trying to find what is your attitude. Say, for example, you are a government official. Someone has offered you bribe. Then in the exam, they have asked, what are the options available? If you write the options available to me are number 1, refusing bribe, number 2, accepting bribe. Do you think this is the correct way of answering? No,
No.
because accepting bribe is not an option at all. How can you take accepting a bribe as an option? Means if you are giving this as one of the option, means already in your mind you have got like thinking of, like you have got the mindset of like taking the bribe if it is given in a proper way. When you think yourself as a strict officer, or when you think yourself as a person with dedication, honesty, definitely accepting bribe won't come to your mind because it is not an option. Your options, what they ask, maybe then you have to like maybe refusing the bribe and seeing that this contractor or maybe this superior who has offered you the bribe, you want to bring these people to book according to the law. So these are the things. So what I say, meant to say, the take home here is, here in Constitution and also in Supreme Court judgments, as a civil servant, if you are finding the lacunae, the chances of you getting less marks, or if you are like very departing from the things, even the chances of you selecting may be very low. Without like taking much time, I'll tell you one more important thing. The most famous Rao's coaching you might have heard previously, the previous Rao's, those times, if there were, say for example, 10,000 selections, more than 7,000 selections used to be from Rao's itself. Rao's was a person, this is the thing which was told to me by Lakshmikant, the great stalwart of polity, where when I was a student. In fact, I was the last batch student, favorite student of Lakshmikant also. Rao's got selected for IAS. He was the person for the first time in India who showed that there can be coaching for IAS. He is the person who showed. Previously, people never thought that we can have coaching for civil service because such a vast thing. Somehow he got IAS, so he had all the things. Somehow he started in a single room and he grew, and somehow it produced huge results. He was not given IAS because he was having some links or some orientation attitude towards the left wing. So though he got IAS, he was not given. So why I said is, here they are selecting, they are looking for the qualities required for a civil servant. Here they are not looking for someone who speaks good, who is having more knowledge. They are looking for those things required in an administrator. Can you think of an IAS officer or an IPS officer who criticizes or who is not valuing the Constitution to abide by the Constitution and do his responsibilities? No. So, my dear students, once again, I stress upon, in any of your answers, you should not be criticizing the Constitution and the Supreme Court. You can say, like, how to increase, or at least if you want to say something in some studies, someone say like that you can use, but not less your own views or thoughts. So moving forward with this explanation, in this chapter, you will learn about what a government is and the important role it plays in our lives. What a government is and the important role it plays in our lives. What do government do? What do government do? What do they, how do they decide what to do? What is the difference? What are the different types of governments such as monarchs and democracies? These are some of the important things where you will be getting clarity today to a greater extent. And there is a continuation of this chapter with respect to elements of governance, democracy, all these things, where the things will be made very clear in this next chapter, in fact. So, what do you think government is? Can anyone answer? What do you think government is? What is a government? You already have the idea. You might have already heard many times, used many times. What do you think the government is? What is government? Anyone?
It's a welfare body, sir. Somebody who is experienced with the common problems which are there in the society and has the capability and resources to provide common solutions to that.
Not exactly, but well tried. Any other answer? What is government? What do you think the government is? Okay, let me put another question. Different kind of activities that the government is doing. What are the different kind of activities the government is doing?
Like administration, welfare,
Okay,
making laws, abide by the laws, maintaining law and order.
okay,
Basically, the three functions, right? What we discussed: executive duties, legislature duties, and judicial functions.
yes. In that, give the duties like among them itself. What all the things?
Like establishing and maintaining a system of like providing opportunities and distribution of public goods,
Very good.
and creation of laws for the effective running of the society,
Okay,
and like passing on regulations, creating and passing regulations which are for the welfare of the, like, which are socialist in nature.
okay. Others, any other thing? Please come on. Like you have all the idea. See, this is the like beauty of online course. There is a thing anonymity. Like if what I observe in my classes in our like when I'm one to one offline, only two or three will be very active. Others won't be because for many reasons. In online, you have to be active. That is the way how you evolve the thoughts. See, this is a very simple thing. What are the other activities I'm asking? Other activities. Only these activities?
Sir,
Please.
providing all the citizens enough basic needs,
Okay.
maintaining peaceful relations with other countries.
Okay, very good. I think you have read the NCRT already. Good.
Basically, protection of borders, protection of the country.
Yes, good enough. Good enough. Dear students, these are the things which we often come across. Government sought to protect rights of unorganized workers. Detailed plan to tackle floods soon, says the government. Government fixes prices for onions, says no shortage in the market. Supreme Court can have 5 more judges in the government. Government for revamping coal and power sector. Over 15,000 villages declared scarcity hit by the government. These are some of the things. See, in all the things you are seeing government. This is the thing with which the chapter begins. Why we need a government? Then, why we need a government?
As a representation body, someone who represents us.
Okay.
And
Why we need government?
yeah, basically, like the collective identity of that entire nation is what the government represents.
Very good words.
To
Then,
fulfill the needs of its citizens.
very good. Any other answer? Why we need government?
Okay, one more is basically to give.
Provides defense.
Basically, to
Every
carry
country,
forward a journey of the country.
okay, every country needs a government to make decision and get things done. Every country, why they need government? To make decision and get things done. These can be decisions about where to build the roads, schools, how to reduce the price of onion when they get too expensive, or ways to increase the supply of electricity. The government also takes action on many social issues. For example, it has several programs to help poor. It does other important things such as running postal and railway services. Definitely you have said very rightly. In fact, you have told in a very broad way, in a concrete way. In NCERT, they have given the minutest things also as some of things which government does. So why do we need government? The main thing is to make decision and for getting things done. This is one of the important things. These decisions may be with respect to numerous things. Government also has the job of protecting the boundaries of the country, maintaining peaceful relation with other countries. It is responsible for assuring that all citizens have enough to eat and have good health facilities. When there are natural disasters like tsunami or an earthquake, it is the government that mainly organizes aid and assistance for the affected people. If there is a dispute or if someone has committed a crime, you find people in court. Courts are also part of government. Government has like numerous roles to play from the national, international level, boundaries, peaceful relations, health facilities, natural disasters, with respect to redressal of the grievances in courts. Why is it necessary for the government to do all these things? Why it is necessary for the government to do all these things? Why does government do all these things?
So for the development and the betterment of the country.
Very good. Any other answer?
For upliftment of society as a whole.
Yes, very important thing. Here, like you're telling the answer, not hitting the bull's eye. Why it is necessary for the government to do so? Because here, my dear students, you said this correct thing. But here, we are living in a society. When we are living in a society, someone has to take the decisions on behalf of the society. Someone has to take the leadership, and at the same time, someone should have the authority to do those things. And also, those things which are done should be obeyed by all. All these things can be done by government only. When human beings live and work together, there are needs to be some amount of organization so that decisions can be made. When human beings live and work together, there needs to be some amount of organization so that the decision can be made. That organization is government, because it is a collective activity, because we are living together. We are not staying in the state of nature. Say, for example, in forest, animals, they're in the state of nature. They do whatever they want. But when you are living together, there needs some amount of organization so that decision can be made. Government do this on behalf of people. Means this decision taking is done by the government on behalf of the people by exercising leadership, taking decisions and implementing this among all the people living in their territory. Government is doing on behalf of the people, and also here government is taking leadership, collective, it is acting as a leader for the masses, taking decisions and implementing this among all the people living in their territory. So this is one more exercise. Can you list 3 things that government does which have not been mentioned? There are many, many things. Think it over. Just to provoke your thought, I have given this one. Any other thing which we have missed? Say health, all these things. What other things which our government does?
Internal security.
Diplomatic channelization.
Very good. Diplomatic. Like others, please do answer. Other things. Government. What government does?
Internal security.
And dispute resolution.
Yes, we have discussed this code. Any other thing? Think it. This is the way decision making and problem solving evolve. Railways. Don't you think government is running railways?
Yes.
Government is providing water.
Welfare schemes. Welfare schemes.
Anything. See, this may be minute things, like the way we think are same. See, you can give the example like street light, sanitation, anything.
Making
NCERT,
roads.
roads, everything in NCERT.
Building
Some of the
houses
examples.
for the poor.
Yes, see Supreme Court, Bharat Petroleum, railways, atomic
LIC.
energy, everything. So there are many things which government does. Then levels of government. The government is responsible for so many different things. Can you think of how it manages to do all these things? Government is responsible for so many different things. Can you think of how it manages to do all these things?
Yeah,
Students,
distribution of duty.
government works at different level. So in general, like see the thought. See, we can say that as you are already grown up, you have got some idea. In fact, government does get these things done through bureaucracy. You, the civil servant, will be doing these things. Modi ji comes up with some ideas. Jagan comes up with ideas. Who will put these things into work? It is the bureaucracy, it is the civil servant. But at a still higher level, government works at different level. At the local level, in your village, town, locality, at the level of state covering the entire state like your Assam, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu. At the national level, relating to the entire country. See the boundary here. I would like to tell you a very important thing with respect to the boundaries. Here, there was a UPSC question, and also this is a point which is mentioned in India Yearbook. One important thing which you have to understand is with respect to the boundaries. Here, in India Yearbook and in government things, they say that India has common border with Afghanistan also. So this may be occupied, but still we claim, so India shares common border with Afghanistan. And another thing is, when it comes to Sri Lanka, India is not having common border. It's a neighboring country, but it is not having common border. It is separated by Palk State and Gulf of Mannar. So these are the important things. If it is asked in the examination, we are sharing boundary with the Afghanistan. That is one of the things, because most of you may be not clear with this respect. So I have mentioned this. Next, they have given the administrative divisions. This is a very, very important thing. Even today, India is following some of the important things which Britishers have taken long back. That is district administration. India is divided into districts, and this is one of the important unit of administration. In India, like the things change very, very slow. In fact, it is said, like long back, the Prime Minister of England came to India, and it was there in Hyderabad. In fact, one of the collector there, he went and he introduced himself, and it told, "Sir, I am the collector of this area." They got shocked. Oh my God, how can this happen? We too had the things like collector, all these things in our England. So we have put this long back in India. But you Indians are still following the same thing, what we have left. Means we are not evolving. There is a need to evolve the things. Still the same district administration. Still the district is under the control of the collector to a greater extent. Even in some of the cases, we have not even changed the designation. Still we see, even now, we the aspirants, civil service aspirants, we use the term collector. He is almost no more a collector to a greater extent. So these are the administrative divisions. They are not that clear. But point to take home here is in India, districts are the very, very important administrative divisions. Next, laws and the government. Why government make laws? Why government make laws? Can anyone answer me? Others, please do try. Why government makes laws?
Maintain order in the society.
Okay, Akhil, good. Any other thing?
To guide society towards the righteous way of evolution.
To guide society towards the righteous way. Okay. Any other thing?
Because everybody obeys the government.
Why everybody obeys the law? Okay, good point. Why everybody obeys law?
They are the leader, like everybody obeys them. They are the common representation of people.
Okay, good. Any other thing? Why government make laws? Government make laws, and everyone who lives in the country has to follow this. This is the only way governments can function. So NCERT says that why government makes laws means this is the only way governments can function. And without these laws, government's power to make decision is not of much use. See, government has taken decision. Jagan has taken decision. Yediyurappa has taken decision. Modi ji has taken decision. But what if they are not come into force? If they don't come into force, without these laws, government's power to make decisions is not of much use. Just like the government has the power to make decisions, similarly, it has the power to enforce these decisions. So, to enforce these decisions, government makes laws. Government, the important thing, government is taking the decisions. To enforce these decisions, government is making laws. Say, for example, there is a law that says that all persons driving a motorcycle must have a license. Any person caught driving a vehicle without a license can either be jailed or fined a large amount of money. So this is the reason why government make laws. This is the only way through which government can function, and to see that their decisions are enforced. Why is it important that people abide by the laws? Or why do people abide by the laws? Why do people abide by the laws?
Basically,
Here,
lesser
yes,
problems for everyone.
yes, yes, Gagan.
I was telling that people abide by laws because that ensures lesser problems for society as at an overall level.
Please come again once again.
Basically, like abiding to laws ensures lesser problems for the society.
Okay, good. So here, at the deeper level, at a deeper level, at the conceptual level, what this can be explained with a thing known as social contract. Social contract. Social contract. What is this? Here, there are two things. One is staying in the state of nature. Staying in the state of nature means, say for example, we are staying in some forest. Say for example, like lions, deers, monkeys, gorillas, all. So they are staying in the state of nature. Here, survival of the fittest. Here, those who can beat others, those who can kill others before they kill us will survive. There is a constant struggle for existence. But there is full freedom. In the state of nature, the freedom is for 100% almost. Like you can do whatever you want. Say, for example, you are a lion or some individual, like you are left in the forest. There is no government, anything like that. You are allowed to do whatever you want. But here, the freedom may be 100% for you to do. But in the larger context, you are unsecured. You don't know when someone will attack. So what people have done, people have come to some contract. That is, they are giving part of their freedom. They are giving part of their freedom to you, part of their freedom to the, they're surrendering part of their freedom to the government. At the same time, government is providing security and other important things for the well-being of the people. Say, for example, you are listening to my class. Now you are watching my videos, the class, you are attending the class. Are you afraid that someone will come and kill you? No. Are you afraid that, like, how to leave tomorrow? I don't have anything. Because government is providing. At the same time, you don't have the 100% freedom. You are surrendered some of the freedoms. And also you have taken, you have like promised that you will abide by some of the rules. Say for example, they are thinking of once again coming with lockdowns. It's a sudden lockdown. Exactly 1 year back, like it was a very different situation. All the people from Bangalore, they were running to their natives. Some went on the bikes, trips for nearly 400, 500 kilometers. In fact, I was also the part of that crowd which was escaping from Bangalore. Nearly 200 or nearly 150 kilometers from Bangalore, there was like the traffic was full, no jams because it was one way. The moving traffic was moving full of vehicles. Here we have surrendered some of our freedoms. At the same time, we are getting some other benefits in the form of like security, getting help when we are distressed. So here we abide by laws for our own good because we have consented that we will be following these laws. You may say that, sir, I didn't give consent. Already the founding fathers have already given consent on behalf of you because these were the representatives of the people. Not only that, you by using some of the public goods like road, transport, other things, you are already in an indirect way, you have given the consent that I will obey the laws. So this is at the conceptual level why we obey the laws. Though, say for example, you are not wearing the helmet. You are not wearing a helmet. A police person comes and asks you to wear the helmet, and if you are not wearing the helmet, he will fine you. Let us take the other example. Say for example, the same with respect to the thing, drink and drive. So when a person is drunk and is driving, somehow the police person can somehow punish, and it is logical because this person may go and dash other individual. He is coming in the way, coming in the freedom of others. But what about this helmet? His own head. Today they are saying head is very important. Please wear helmet. Tomorrow they will come and say no. Somehow head is somehow not that more frequently injured. In fact, legs are more injured. Please, all of you wear shoes while you are driving. If the laws come, definitely we have to wear. Why? Even though, say for example, many feel uncomfortable wearing helmet, many feel uncomfortable having seat belts, but we have consulted that we'll obey the things. And also, if we won't obey, we have given the authority for the government to punish those people who are not following the rules and regulations. Why is it important that people abide by the laws? In addition to any action that government can take, there are also steps that people can take if they feel that a particular law is not being followed. Here we have discussed if people are not abiding the laws, government can punish them. Say for example, we discussed about helmet. You can be fined. At the same time, say for example, any say for example, government is not taking the things, then people also have remedies here. If a person, for example, he feels that there were he feels that they were not hired for a job because of their religious or caste, he or she may approach the court and claim that the law is not being followed. The court can give orders about what should be done. So there are two ways. If people are not doing, government can take action. If government is not doing or they are not properly treated, people also have the things where they can get their grievances redressed. The next question is, who gives the government the power to make decisions and enforce laws? So very important here in the question itself. See one more important thing. In UPSC questions, there are many important just things given. Say for example, this question. Who gives government the power to make decisions? Power to make decisions and enforce laws means, by this you have to understand that if this is a UPSC question, you have to understand and you have to internalize that according to UPSC, government has the power to make decisions and enforce laws. In every question, In every question, there is a concept hidden. So my dear students, very important for you. If you want to clear with good marks from today on, please start reading mains questions. I'm not even saying you that you answer the things. They are very, very like, let's say, if you take paper one, paper two, all these things, only like 15 to 20 lines will be there. Just it's a matter of 1 page or 2 page. One thing I have said you, every day, 5 minutes, read the syllabus. And second thing, please read the previous year mains questions daily. If you do these two things, you will be having the confidence of what UPSC needs. See, you know the syllabus, you know how UPSC is asking the questions, what is there in the mind of UPSC question paper setter, then you'll get the confidence. I know what UPSC wants. Then afterwards, if any material is given, you'll say, okay, it may not be asked because it is not in the syllabus. UPSC questions are not coming. Or if there is something, then you will analyze, okay, this is in the syllabus. UPSC is asking questions like this. How to read like this? Until and unless you get this mentality that I know what UPSC want, your preparation has not really started. Because you will be simply wondering like what to read, what toppers say. Everyone and everybody says the same thing, does the same thing. Follow the footprints of UPSC. Syllabus, along with that, previous year questions. If you are still started, it is best to start with mains. I'm not saying to even answer those questions. I'm just saying, just read them whenever you get time. It is a matter of 3 to 5 minutes to complete one paper. Just read it. If you have another 5 minutes, just think it over. What might be the question? This is the way, this is the answer writing skill. Answer writing practice doesn't mean like take the test and write. In the test, what you will be writing, what is there in your head, definitely you will be writing that. What will be there in your head? If you have not interlinked the things, if you have not analyzed the things, say for example, about Jagan, about religion, about politics, you somehow argue with the people hours together because these are the things which are not come spontaneously. Already these things are present in your mind. You are talking about religion, you are defending your religion, arguing about your religion, you are defending your superhero, you are defending your leader. It is possible because you already have these things, you are interconnected the things. That is not, those are not the things which spontaneously emerge. Similarly, while you are sitting in the examinations, things won't come de novo there itself. You have to interlink these things now itself. The best thing is, dear students, just I'm asking you, just 15 minutes, 5 minutes syllabus, do it very every day fast. And at the same time, previous year mains question papers. Prelims definitely will come and you will know what to do all these things because all the institutions are behind only prelims. Completing like history, geography, polity, economy, environment science, all these things, they think things are over. By this, you won't be getting even 30% of the marks. So coming to the topic, what gives government the who gives the government the power to make decisions and enforce laws? Here, dear students, the answer to this question depends upon the type of government there in our country. So there are two things. One is democracy and another is monarchy, the types of government. So who gives the power depends upon the type of the government. Can anyone say who is the king present here? Any guess?
Akbar,
Akbar, okay. Who said Akbar?
for me, Gagan.
Gagan, okay. So another important thing, my dear students, especially an important tip for preliminary examination. See, Gagan just told Akbar. I intentionally asked this question. Your approach for solving the preliminary examination, mains examination also should be like this. Go with an open mind. Read the question. Try to eliminate the things here and there. Try to say, for example, there is some name related to like Kadiyappan, something like that. So you can just guess something related to Tamil Nadu, Kerala, things like that. So like Gagan has made some guess. This is a general picture. A small child has written. So a monarch. But what I meant to say is you should have the thinking power of trying. Just by seeing the question, don't think that I don't know. You should have the attitude of trying the things. By elimination, things like that, you can come up with the answer. So types of government, as of now, in the present thing, we have got two major things, democracy and monarchy. In democracy, it is the people who give the government its power. Very important, who gives the government power? It is the people who give the government this power. They do this through elections. Another important thing, people give the government the power and they give this power through elections in which they vote for a particular person. So in these things, they vote for a particular person and elect them. Once elected, these persons form the government. In a democracy, the government has to explain its action and defend its decision to people. Very, very important thing. So I repeat and I reiterate the thing, in a democracy, the government has to explain its actions. It may come in prelims. So don't think that Jagan or our Yediyurappa has no business with respect to explaining their actions or defending its decisions to the people. No, they have to explain their decisions. Government takes the decision, and at the same time, in democracy, they have to explain why they have taken this decision. Your Modi ji has taken decision, but time and again he has come and said, "See, this is the reason why I have taken this decision. This is the reason why we went for lockdown. This is the reason why we went for currency ban, note ban." Very important thing, in a democracy, people give the government that power, and this power is given by elections. Two important things, people give the power. How people give the power? Through elections. And the other section, government has the responsibility, has got the mandate. It is mandatory for the government to explain what it is doing. Government has to explain its action and defend its decisions to the people in democracy. This is the very, very important thing with respect to democracy. On the other hand, monarch, that is king or queen, has the power to make decisions and run government. The monarch may have a small group of people to discuss matters with, but the final decision-making powers remains with the monarch. Final decision-making power always remains with monarch. And moving in the same lines, unlike in democracy, means in democracy, it's a different thing. Kings and queens do not have to explain their actions or defend decision they take. So this is a very important thing. So in democracy, people give the power, and also people give the power through voting, election. At the same time, the government has the responsibility, the obligation to explain the action and defend the decision to the people, which is not there in a monarchy. Next is, why do you think it is important for the people to involve in decisions that affect them? Give reasons for your answers. Others, please do think it over. Do you think it is important for the people to be involved in decisions that affect
Sir.
them? Why?
Yes, sir.
Why we have to involve people in decisions that affect them? Anyone? Or you been,
Can I explain it in an example, sir?
please come again.
Can I explain it with an example?
Sure, that will be great.
See, for example, if the government making some law
Okay,
that may affect people, like example, they are making a new law that, again, like in the past, Dalits should not enter in the temple, or Dalits should not get some particular rights.
okay.
If they are making some laws or laws like that, and if people not involving in such decisions, and we should and we should uh, we should negotiate with that kind of things. Otherwise, it will affect the lives of the Dalits, and not only that, it may affect the unity in the or diversity in the country.
Okay, well tried, but not that exact. Any other answer? So here you have to use.
I think maybe
please.
people's they know what we require.
Yes, very good point.
So there's a reason they have to involve in making decisions. The majority of people, what they are accepting, that only the final decision. I think maybe.
Good. Any other thing? So, dear students, already like I gave one assignment for you to come up with the answer. This is another. This is a very important thing. We'll discuss in our next class. Please make note of this. Do you think it is important for the people to involve in decisions that affect them? Give reasons for your answers. My dear students, you have to think and write. Don't search in Google or anywhere, because you have to make the thought process. I'll give the hint for you. Say, for example, when you are involving the people, as your friend said, they know what they want. And also, when you are involving them, acceptance will be there. There won't be gap between their needs and the things what you are providing. And it's a very basis in the democracy to involve people. Participation increases confidence. People will have greater confidence in the government. They have sense of belongingness. When they are involved in decision making process, they will accept more. Acceptance will be more. Anything, say for example, if there is anything where you are coming, some decision has to be made. A committee has formed. In that, they have involved some people of that village or anything like that. Acceptance will be more. People feel that they have been involved. Their moral will increase. So here, my dear students, take this, take a deep thought. Why I'm saying is, this is one of the most important question. This you will be like getting time and again throughout your preparation. Why we have to involve people? That is participation. This is one of the element of a good governance. Why people have to be involved? You have to write it like Monday, like without fail. I'll ask you like what exactly. But my thing is, we'll definitely have come up with the things. But you have to think on your own. We have to give. Yes, Manoj.
Sir, could you please explain one question in Telugu language?
Telugu, okay. మనము ప్రజల్ని డిసిషన్ మేకింగ్ లో ఎందుకు ఇన్వాల్వ్ చేసుకోవాలి? It is important. Why it is important for the people to be involved in decision that affect them? ఒక డిసిషన్స్ నుంచి like why we have to involve people in decision making, like simple language. ఒక డిసిషన్ తీసుకోవాలి అనుకుంటున్నాము, that decision is affecting that people, ఆ ప్రజల్ని ఎఫెక్ట్ చేస్తుంటాయి. So why we have to involve them? So it's a simple thing. Okay, moving forward. Democratic governments. India is a democracy. This achievement is a result of long and eventful struggle of the Indian people. There are other places in the world where people have also struggled to have democracy. See, this is a very, very simple thing it may appear, but here there is a one hidden thing here. Democracy, like equality, has not come spontaneously. People have fought for that. It may be long before. Say, for example, if you go for European countries, it was thousands of years back, 12th century, 13th century. In India, also for democracy, we have also fought. Around the world, people have struggled. People have fought for democracy. Is this clear to you? So democracy, like equality or anything like that, has not come spontaneously. People have struggled. People have fought for that because nobody want to give. Say, for example, you are having power. Do you want to distribute these powers? Everything here is a dominance, right? So my next question will be, what are the main features of democracy? Yes, please be fast. What are the main features of democracy?
So people elect their representatives,
Very good.
and elections are kind of features of democracy.
Very good.
And public interest litigation also deals with some kind of represents the democracy.
Public
Interest litigation.
Okay.
And local governments.
There would be accountability.
Local governments. Okay. Accountability.
NGOs.
NGOs, we can't take this NGOs. Oh, I'm asking about main features.
Okay.
Like how any other, but well tried. Like elections, very good point. May not be people interest litigation. Any other point? What are the main features of democracy? Manam ippudu, like we are in democracy. What are the main features here? See, this is what is happening in mains.
Everyone will get equal opportunities.
Equal opportunity. Okay.
Their creed, caste, everything.
Okay. Any other thing? Some of Pawan Kalyan is more about caste. However, you want to bring caste itself. Okay. Any other point? What are the main features of democracy? What is democracy? See, this is what happens in the mains examination. You all know these things, but you are not able to reproduce the things, and also time will be very, very less. There may be many engineering students. If they ask what is engineering, they may not write the exact thing because their ideas concretely they have not formed. This happens only when the answer writing thing, everything happens only when the syllabus is there in your mind, previous year questions are in your mind. Already brain evolves and interconnect the things and the answers are ready. Everybody knows what is democracy. What are the main features of democracy? It is the rule of the people. Who is the ruler in democracy? People are the rulers in democracy. Not like any monarch or anyone. People have the power to elect their leaders. Some 2-3 important things they have given. So this may be directly asked in your preliminary examination or the other way in mains also. People have the power to elect their leaders. That is one of the main features of democracy. In a sense, so we can say that in democracy, the ruler is the person that is citizen. Democracy, in a democracy, it is ruled by people. The basic idea is that people rule themselves by participating in making these rules. So this is ruled by the people. People have the power to elect their leaders. So in the sense, a democracy is ruled by the people. Basic idea is that people rule themselves by participating in the process decision making. So the main features of democracy are we are electing our leaders and people are the one for making rules. People rule themselves according to the NCERT. So here you have given one voting in rural areas, a mark is put on the finger to make sure that the person cast only one vote. In fact, this is one of the most like traditional way where like there were chances. Say for example, if it is not like marked, you would have put more number of votes. So things now have changed, but even then we're practicing the same things. And some there are many shortcuts which have come. Like people now they are using some other means through which they can just erase these things. Here, the main thing is the inner meaning, how a very elderly person is voting, even in the rural areas, and the process. What is representative democracy? Then the next question, what is representative democracy? Be fast. You might be knowing all these things. What is representative democracy? My dear students, democratic government in our times are usually referred to as representative democracy. See, in our times, this is very important. And at the same time, one more point, direct democracy in India, direct democracy we have in one place, there is direct democracy. What is that? I'll explain that. Before that, democratic governments in our times means now are usually referred to as representative democracy. Means in the present day, around the world, what we have are representative democracy. In representative democracy, people do not participate directly. I repeat, in representative democracy, people do not participate directly, but instead choose their representatives through an election process. These representatives meet and make decisions for the entire population. So what is representative democracy? Representative democracy, here you are not directly participating, you are choosing your representatives. Say for example, here people, you are electing MP, your representative. These people, all the MPs, they constitute your parliament. So generalization, don't go to specificity. These people, again, among them, they elect some to be the executive. This executive will be the person who will implement the things. This parliament is the one which makes policies. Parliament is taking decisions, but it is here people are not directly taking the decisions. Here they will be meeting and they will take the decisions for the entire population. Your representative will be taking decisions on your behalf. In direct democracy, people themselves take the decision. Please name a place where we have got direct democracy in India. A very important question. Where we have direct democracy in India? We have direct democracy in Gram Sabha. So the only place where we have direct democracy is Gram Sabha. In no other place we have got direct democracy. Right? Next, universal adult suffrage. What is universal adult suffrage? Universal adult suffrage means that all adults in the country are allowed to vote. Very simple definition. What is universal adult suffrage? Universal adult suffrage means that all adults in the country are allowed to vote. Government cannot call itself democratic unless it allows universal adult suffrage. What is universal adult suffrage? Universal adult suffrage means that all adults in the country are allowed to vote. In India, all adults above the age of 18 are allowed to vote. This is universal adult suffrage. Very simple definition. All the adults have the voting power. That is universal adult suffrage. Dear students, but this was not the case previously. But it was not always like this. In their earliest forms, government allowed only men who owned property and were educated to vote. This meant that women, poor, propertyless, and uneducated were not allowed to vote. The country was governed by the rules and regulations that these few people, few men made. This is not a new thing. In the earlier forms, previously, not only in India, even you go for America, Britain, everywhere, only men, not even women, who owned property and were educated were allowed to vote. Means only men, and also those who are educated and who are owning property, means even those men who are not having property, means who are poor, who are illiterate, were not allowed to vote. And at the same time, entire women population were not allowed to vote. So this is not universal adult franchise. In India, before independence, only small minority was allowed to vote, and they therefore came together to determine the fate of the majority. Several people, including Gandhiji, were shocked at the unfairness of this practice and demanded that all adults have the right to vote. This is known as universal adult franchise. All the adults should have the right to vote. This is universal adult franchise. In India, it is all the adults above 18 years. Gandhiji, in fact, has written a detailed thing with respect to this thing. So here, Gandhiji writing in the journal Young India, very important. So you have to understand two things. Young India in 1930s. At that time, Gandhiji wrote, I can't possibly bear the idea that a man who has got wealth should have the vote, but a man who has got character, a man who has got wealth, have the right to vote, but a man who has got the character but not the wealth or literacy should have no vote. Or that a man who works honestly by the sweat of his brow day in and day out should not have the vote for the crime of being poor. So this statement may be given, and also you have to take the context here. In 1930s, why did he write? Because at that time we were not having universal adult franchise in India. At that time we were having only like a very small portion of the people having the right to vote. So in that context, Gandhiji has written there. And votes for women, this is a very, very important thing. My dear students, like 100 years back, no woman was having the right to vote. They were not allowed to vote. In fact, this movement got momentum during the First World War. They somehow were asking for right to vote, women, but this got intense only during First World War. The reason was during First World War, all the men went for wars, like they went for other places. Then women were called upon to do the works which men were doing. Women were able to do this work very, very good. In some cases, they do better than what men used to do. So they got some moral boost up. And even many started asking the things, what is the logic behind you not allowing the women for voting? In 1920 in America and in 1928 in UK, in fact, exactly, women got equal right of voting. It was not present earlier. Dear students, nowhere in the world have the governments willingly shared the power of voting. Nowhere. If they went on struggle, they give to some few rich. This happened in India also. Nowhere in the world have the governments willingly shared the power. All over Europe and USA, women and the poor had to fight for participation in the government. Women struggled to vote got strengthened during the First World War. This movement is called Women's Suffrage Movement. The term suffrage means right to vote. A very important thing, please note here, suffrage, they may ask you because they are asking the meaning of the word. They have asked like, what is the meaning of equality, liberty? So suffrage means right to vote. Women's suffrage movement. This movement, the movement where women ask for their right to vote is known as women's suffrage movement. The term suffrage means right to vote. Important thing here is suffrage means right to vote. During the war, many men were away fighting, and because of this, women were called upon to do work that was earlier considered men's work. Many women began organizing and managing different kinds of work. When people saw this, they began to wonder why they had created so many unfair stereotypes about women and what they were capable of being. So women began to be seen as being equally capable of making decisions. And suffragettes demanded the right to vote for all women, and to get their demands heard, they chained themselves to rallying in public places. Many suffragettes were imprisoned. They went on hunger strike. They had to be fed with force. American women got the right to vote in 1920, a very important thing. America sees that it is the champion of democracy, it is a champion of human rights. But it's not the case. The American Constitution, what we have now, it was not that representative at all. Because see here, American women got the right to vote in 1920. Constitution was of America was way back. Not only that, the black people were not having the right to vote. So American Constitution is not that representative. 50% of the population was not there. The black Americans, they were not there. They got this just a century ago. So though the concept of democracy in Europe evolved in 13th century, 14th century, till recently, like 1 century before, they were not having the right to vote. UK got to, the women in UK got to vote in the same terms as men some years later, that is in 1928. So here, very important thing, previously there was some kind of voting rights given, but not equivalent to the men. So they got the right to vote only very, very late. So these are some of the things. And also I have made a list of the things like how it has evolved over a period of time, all these things. So I will discuss these things later. So if you have any doubt, please let me know.
Sir, could you once again say the exact definition of government, sir? That thing.
In fact, in this one, in the next chapter, we'll discuss them in detail. They have not defined the government. Government in this chapter, they have not defined. So in general, I can say, but they have not defined the thing. But out of the things, what they have given, you can say that government is one which makes decisions and implement the decision. In the next chapter, they have given some things. We'll discuss that in that one. I don't want to make the things in a general way, but as for this chapter, government is one which makes the decisions and implement those things in the form of making laws. Any other thing? Okay. If you don't have any doubt, let me wind up the session. Happy weekend. Please do memorize the preamble and the assignment which I have given with respect to why people should be there in decision making. Take care. Have a nice weekend.